Hello, everyone. I'm back now with the concluding lesson on John Brown, Bob Dylan's poem John Brown. If you remember, we had marked out the stanzas from 1 to 12. We had stopped probably thematically what I would call the midway. It's like when you're going to watch a movie, you have a intermission, right? So there is a development of a plot before the interval, and after the interval we are waiting for the resolution of the conflict that has come to our focus, and probably a denouement. If I look at a play standpoint, this John Brown by Bob Dylan is unfolding like a story. It's like a real drama happening. So I would call it, as we have reached the climax, is when the story unfolds, when John Brown is ready to go to fight the war, and the mother is all excited. There is a sense of pride seeing her son off to fight a battle. He's doing so smart and athletic in his soldier's uniform. And as the story builds up, then the letters that come, and then the letters stop coming. And probably, like I told you, the climax is when he says that when she saw her son at last, when she did, she could hardly believe her eyes, while she couldn't even recognize his face. And that probably is the climax of the first part of the movie that is unfolding. We have had the intermission, and now we come back to where the soldier now speaks. We have come across the mother's feelings. Remember, students, just for for you to realize that the title is John Brown. I've told you about how he's a metaphor for a universal soldier. Uh, the name John Brown has only appeared in the opening lines. I leave you to mull over it. Is there a thought behind it? How come the Bob Dylan has not mentioned John Brown again later on, in the middle of the poem, or a later part of the story as it was unfolding, right? So now let's move to we move from the mother's perspective, the pride of the mother, the expectations of the mother, to the utter disbelief on seeing the reality of what has happened to her son. That part of it is over. Now and also finally we move to the second part with the question, and the answer to which comes after this. Oh, tell me, my darling son, pray tell me what they've done. How is it you come to be this way? So now we get the answer. That's why I said it's probably the denouement, like we have of a play, the answers to the question. Don't you remember, Ma, when I went off to war? You thought it was the best thing I could do. It was a sense of pride. So you remember your feelings, right? He's juggling his mother's memory, probably to show her that illusory notion that she had about war, to show her what the reality is. I was on the battlefield, you were home acting proud, you wasn't there standing in my shoes, right? That's where we stopped. The scene is set. Yes, you were proud, you sent me to war. You were not there. I was there in the middle of the action. You were back home. With your dreams, with your illusions, with all the visions of grandeur and glory of war. But I was there on the battlefront. Stanza 10. Oh, and I thought when I was there, God, what am I doing here? The very moment, this utter sense of what is this? What am I doing here? So, what does this question, This is a rhetoric question. John Brown asked himself, I am in the wrong place. What am I doing here amidst this battle, this killing? Yes, this, when when you are there on the scene, you realize the impact of it, and that's what happens to him. So I said, God, what am I? Why am I here? Yes, this sense of being in the wrong place. This is not what I had ever planned to do. This is not where I'd ever planned my future to be. I'm trying to kill somebody or die trying, but the thing that's I'm trying to kill somebody or die trying. So what am I doing here? Am I either trying to kill somebody or or die trying to kill somebody? Because if I don't kill somebody, the person in front of me is going to kill me. So it's just death everywhere. It's a war. And war means synonymous to dying. So if I don't kill somebody, somebody is going to kill me. So I have to kill, right? But the thing, apart from that, the thing that scared me most was when my enemy came close, when I was standing probably a few feet away, eye to eye with my enemy, and then this sense of, the being so forlorn, and probably the sense of sheer anguish. And I saw that his face looked just like mine. Oh Lord, just like mine. Why does this line emit so much of pathos and tragedy? Why? Because for the first time, as a soldier, he realizes, I am here to fight somebody else's war. I'm trying to kill my enemy, who also is here because he has been sent by someone else from his country to fight the war. It is not my war, it is not his war. The wars are decided across tables, up there in boardrooms. And here I am standing with face to face with a man who is this, similarly innocent, the same naivety displayed on his face like mine. A gun has been given, thrusted into my hand, and I've come here to fight a war, and I stand face to face with somebody who is in the same unenviable position. We don't have a choice, but there's a deep anguish and pain in us, because the end of this war is death. And that is the illusion which has become a reality on the battlefield. And that is one reality, that unless we are there on the field with the gun in our hand, we will never realize. And that is what he wants to convey to his mother. And probably, the sense of killing becomes, in war, it is rightful that you kill, right? Because unless you kill, you die. But here, the way he says it is like, I'm killing somebody innocent. It is like murder. I feel I am unnecessarily taking someone else's life, someone who is like me, somebody's son, somebody's brother, somebody who has just been given the gun to go and fight a war and to kill, because otherwise he will not survive. That makes this stanza extremely important. And coming to stanza 11, and I couldn't help but think, through the thunder rolling and sting, that I was just a puppet in a play. I was just a puppet in the play. So that is the imagery that you get here, yes? So from I was just a puppet in the play. So, like what happens to a puppet? The string is in somebody else's hands, right? So I am being touted around, forced to do things which is not something that I desire. Yes. So the situation that I am in, I realize it's an irrational place to be. Yes. It's absolutely not what I'd envisaged, not what I've ever dreamt of. Yes. And it goes against the very concept, probably, of what I had learned all through my life, that there is one common brotherhood of men. But here I was, taking a gun and shooting another man. That I was just a puppet in a play. So this, like I told you, it's a drama unfolding. The war is like the field is like the stage. The war is the act that is taking place, and the soldiers are like the puppets. They have been pulled, tugged, let loose, tugged, let loose, go. Yes, go forth and set forth, like you said, set forth the dogs of war. Yes. So it is like through the thunder rolling and stink. So that is the atmosphere that is created around. Yes, uh, the all the guns booming everywhere, the dying bodies, bloodied fields. Yes, this is the setting of the drama that is taking place, and he realizes that he is just a mere plaything in the hands of the warmongers who have designed this entire game, yes, for them. Yes. So whether he lived or died, it did not matter. What mattered for those who have designed this war, a victory or a defeat? The lives of soldiers were not taken into consideration at all. Yes. So Bob Dylan has used a very apt metaphor for war. It is a puppet show. Yes. So the strings are in the hands of people who are not affected, but the puppets are the soldiers who die on the field or bring death to others. And through the roar and smoke, the string is finally broke, and a cannonball blew my eyes away. You get to know here what the kind of pain that he suffered. Yes, he was thinking about all this when, what does he say? And through the roar and smoke, the roar, talking of the sounds on the battlefield, the guns booming, the smoke, the tear gas, the cannons, the string is fine. The string that the leaders up there were holding, John Brown, the puppet too, that string snapped. Yes. Another puppet, like I don't know whether any of you have read the story of Alistair MacLean, a puppet on a chain. So here is the puppet on a chain, and the chain snaps, and the puppet falls to the ground. Yes, how does he fall to the ground? A cannonball comes through this smoke and haze and hits him right across his face. The making of, it's a mangled mass of flesh that he's ended up as. No longer the proud, straight, smart young soldier. Yeah, probably that's why uh, Bob Dylan couldn't call him John Brown anymore. He's just a fragment of what the man was, what the young man was. Yes. Then, very important last stanza. Yes. As he turned away to walk, remember he's got the braces round his waist. His ma was still in shock, naturally. Naturally. This is not what she had ever, ever imagined. This was not what she had ever dreamt of. Yes. And when she hears the story of how he got himself injured, probably that has made her uh, go into a worse state of anguish. His ma was still in shock at seeing the metal brace that helped him stand. He couldn't stand on his own. His spinal cord must have been badly affected. But as he turned to go, this is the most, I believe, the saddest part of the story, perhaps very ironical. He called his mother close and he dropped his medals down into her hand. Yes, the medals. He did get the medals because he's a war hero. He's a martyr. Yes, who's come back. Yes, war hero who has come back from the battleground with injuries. Those are the injuries are, those. Actually, I feel even if they were not real medals, the injuries stand for the medals that you have won on the battlefield. Yes, a blown hand is a medal, a lost eye is a medal, a broken limb is a medal. Yes, but apart from that, he also won some medals. Yes. So what does he do? And why the medal is important? If you remember what the mother had mentioned in the very beginning, at the very beginning, that yes, follow what the captain says, you'll win the medals, and we shall display all the medals on the mantelpiece, and that will be our moment of glory. Little did she know that she would be getting the medals, but not the price that her son had to pay for the medals was not what she had ever thought of. So, what happens to the medals? What does the medal now? What do those medals stand for? Is it really pride anymore? No, no. It is absolute pain. So, the medals that in the beginning of the poem stood for pride and heroism, at the end of the poem stands for absolute anguish and shock and despair and suffering, because that is all that will remain with him for the rest of his life. A broken man. That's what he remains. So the medals are of no worth. So, what is most important? What is the most important thing about life? Life itself. What is the most important thing about being here? Life itself, right? Nothing is of any worth if a person is not a healthy, wholesome individual. No matter how many medals you win, how many accolades you earn, the trophies you win, the amount of wealth you gather, nothing is of any worth if you are not living a full life. And John Brown has been totally destroyed. You see, the concept of Bob Dylan's theme is anti war. So, what does a war at the end of it bring to the common man? Yes, victories for those who designed the war, for those who are actually fighting the war, for many, broken homes, broken dreams, shattered, and life is destroyed forever. And that is the absolute futility of war. That is the theme that Bob Dylan, who was given the Nobel Prize for Literature, yes, if you remember that, and that's why his poem does make his songs. It's become a part of our literature. Yes, in 2016 he won the Nobel Prize, and we have his poem as a part of literature. Now, I call this I call this a lyric But as we read the poem, it's unfolding like a story. It's like a ballad. Yes, it's like a ballad that has unfolded and become like a song in front of us. Of course, probably not of such heroic proportion, but definitely the theme of heroism is there. Shattered heroism, yes. Illusionary heroism, yes. But nevertheless, a soldier who is realized, a poet who wants us to realize how useless and futile any war is. So, the universal theme of anti war is what is depicted in the poem, right? You've understood? Now, let's move on to uh, the questions. Uh, we will look at some of the ISC designed questions that it's important for us to uh, understand that. I'm just bringing on the questions for you to see, because you need to know how to answer them. It's very important. Yes, how to answer them. The first question, as you see, is from the specimen paper for the class 11 question, and it reads, referring closely to the poem John Brown, describe how the mother of uh, John Brown glorified war and heroism. So the key words is war and heroism. So glorified war and heroism. So what are you doing with the first part of the question? You are going back to the first, second, third, fourth stanzas of glorification of war and heroism, because the pride of the mother, the heroism of the son, as she expected the war to enfold and bring to light, is what is highlighted in the first four stanzas of the poem. And so the details about the mother, the description of her son, how she went about talking to her neighbors, going to the station to see her son off, and every time she was doing it, she was bragging about it because of the sense of pride. And that war, being a soldier, being a warrior, a soldier with a gun in his hand, was the ultimate, kind of example of valor for her, and that is what she was highlighting. So that's the first part. If you look at the second part, that's 8 marks. 6 marks is how, when did the son realize the futility of war, and what was the realization? When did the son realize? So you are now highlighting stanza 10. You are highlighting stanza 10 because, okay, you begin with stanza 9 when it says that you were here at home, but I realized what the war was. I realized the futility of war when I was there on the field and I stood face to face with my enemy, and I found the enemy's face was a reflection of mine, which was reflection means it mirrored the same pain, it mirrored the same anguish, it mirrored the same apology, probably, and it mirrored the same fear. You had to kill because if you didn't, somebody else would kill you. So, mirroring of the same emotions that he saw on the face of his enemy was the realization and the utter futility of war. Yes, 6 marks for that. If you come to the third part, how did John Brown repay his mother for her lopsided view about the glory of war? Yes, it's a very, I feel the question is a bit too stark. Honestly, I still believe, and I mentioned this to you all earlier, I don't believe that the mother was really aware of the consequences of war. Yes, it was not that she deliberately would send her son to the battlefield, and the way she talks about it displays her naivety. Yes, but anyway, how did he repay? Then it comes to the entire symbolism of the medals, right? So we are going to refer to the medals that she spoke about in the second stanza, and you're going to contrast it with the medals in the 12th. So the second and the 12th stanzas are contrasted to show you uh, the kind of repayment that the son gives to the mother, right? Got an idea, right? Remember, students, when you have different paths to the question, you must read all the parts before you attempt it, so that you don't have the same matter overlapping. You know exactly what to write for each section. And remember, you need to quote, so definitely one or two quotes, please, and let it be something woven into your answer. Just don't quote for the sake of quoting. All right. Now, apart from that, I have put a question here, which is for 20 marks. Oh, good old fashioned war. Yes. Oh, good old fashioned war. This is, yes. Now, I forgot to write the um, mark for this, but this is definitely a 20 mark answer. So, how far in, oh, good old fashioned war, that is the quote. How far in your estimate is the war a good old fashioned one in Bob Dylan's poem John Brown? So, here we are highlighting war, which is a good old fashioned war. How far in your estimate? How far do you believe it is a good old fashioned war? What is a good old fashioned war? In context of in context of the poem, a good old fashioned war from the mother's perspective, right? Good old fashioned war, proud mother, heroism, sense of heroism, medals, letters from home describing the war. It's a good old fashioned war, expecting the son to come back victorious with all the medals around his neck. Good old fashioned war, yes. And the estimate of the good old fashioned war from the soldier's perspective is the second part. So divide your answer into the good old fashioned war as the mother sees it, and the good old fashioned war as the son drives home the truth. Again, matter remains the same, but you will begin your response with this quote and explaining what you mean by old fashioned war. Old fashioned war means where there are two parties, right? There could be more than two, but the world is divided into two, yes? And there has to be a victor and there has to be a, a, somebody who has been defeated, yes? A victorious party and the other side which is defeated, yes? And people die. People win battles and people die and lose battles, right? You even win battles and you die. That is also there, good old fashioned war. And in this poem, the good old fashioned war, we do have enemies across the continent. Remember, it's a faraway land that our young soldier is going to, yes? And for the mother, it is only victory that she dreams about. Old fashioned war, which has victory, because she is from a proud nation, America. They only win wars. History has shown us, First World War, Second World War, history has shown us that. So we can't negate it, right? Vietnam War was probably an anomaly. Okay, so that old fashioned war, victory, medals, yes, coming back with music down the streets, that kind of fanfare is what she thought of. But the good old fashioned war for a soldier is the same. With a gun in your hand, through smoke and haze, you're killing innocent soldiers on the other side. Yes. And you're like a puppet. You're like a puppet on a chain. Yes. The whole war is like a puppet show. You were playing a part. And any moment the cannonball will come and hit you, like it hits him, and the string snaps, the puppet falls to the ground. He's a mess, and he's sent back home. And then, what is the worth of the medals that have been won? That is also the good old fashioned war. So, I give you a glimpse of the kind of answer that you could write for this, right? Let's move to the next question here. Question 3, pride and pathos. Now, you have a lot of pain, yes, are equally explored in Bob Dylan's poem John Brown. So I'm asking you to bring in both the sense of heroism and pride and pain and pathos and despair and anguish. Everything comes together. So again, you divide it. Pride and heroism begins. That's how the poem begins. That's how any story begins, with a lot of hope, with a lot of expectations. Yes. Here, of course, probably naivety as well. And then the anguish and the pain. For the same character, they're two protagonists. You have the mother and you have the son. In the beginning, you do not have any, the pride is only from the mother's side. The son stands tall. He doesn't speak at all. Probably he believes at that point in time what the mother says. He believes in it. One has to believe in the positivity when one starts a journey going into a battlefront. You can't begin with a negative thought. And he's going for the first time, so he doesn't know the reality of war. So it does. A bit of pride of the mother does rub off onto her son. He looks smart and standing straight and tall, head held high. And then comes the anguish, the pain, which is the reality of war, the killing, the cannonball, the description when the mother can't see the son at the station, and then we realize that the son is not being seen because he cannot walk past. He is probably on a wheelchair. One of his hands is gone, amputated. Face is a mangled mass. There's a metal brace. Those are the realities of war, the pain and pathos that one feels, right? Again, remember 5 to 6 quotes, please. And the final question, again, I've tried to put 3 parts to it. John Brown by Bob Dylan is an anti-war poem. In this context, discuss the expectations of the mother. Right? Now, I don't have to repeat myself. I know you know exactly what to write here. And that's why I make 3 or 4 questions so that you know that no matter what question you get, you will have to design it on the same matter, but you should know exactly what to write and how to approach each part, right? Second part, the reality faced by the son. So on the battlefield, the soldiers, the cannonball, the utter helplessness when he's eye to eye with his enemy, and then the cannonball and the image of the puppet, right? And the final, the dream and the nightmare of the medals. I put it differently. The dream of the medals is stanza 2. The nightmare of the medals is stanza 12. Medals that she dreamt of, the mother, and medals that she dreamt of. She did get it. But the price that she paid for the medals was not what she ever wanted to, not what she ever thought she would have to pay. A very heavy price. What was the price? Her son's life. And that is the price that mothers, families have to pay when they send their sons out onto the battlefield. right? And that is the thought that Bob Dylan wishes to highlight in this poem, John Brown. I hope you have understood the poem. I'm sure you have. There are 4 questions. You could use any of them. Please write out an answer. Remember to quote. Remember to, you can bring something topical in your start of your answer. If any of you have read uh, other poems, Echoing of War, you can actually cross. You could begin with a line from The Gift of India, just to startle the examiner about how you begin it, or you could begin with a quote from, "This was the best of times, this was the worst of times." Oliver Dickens in The Tale of Two Cities, you're talking about the best of times and the worst of times. Both are reflected in this poem. Just giving you a few ideas about, do think about how you start your answer, that's very important. So, with this, we conclude our discussion on John Brown. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, please do go back and listen to the beautiful rendition of the song by Amir and Shushain. I'm thankful to them for having enhanced the quality of this section of Bob Dylan's poem, John Brown. Thank you so much, everyone. Hope you've liked the presentation. I'll see you all soon. Till then, be good, stay safe,